Okay, so let us now proceed with our task. So, as I have said, today's text is entitled "The Myth of Sisyphus." So, what are the objectives of today's lesson? So, at the end of this, you are expected to employ analytical listening in problem solving, and you are also expected to reflect on your personal plights. Okay, so I shall start reading now the text for you, and all you have to do is just to listen carefully. If there's a need for you to take down some notes, you may do so. Okay, the myth of Sisyphus. The gods had condemned Sisyphus to ceaselessly rolling a rock to the top of a mountain, whence the stone would fall back of its own weight. They had thought with some reason that there is no more dreadful punishment than futile and hopeless labor. If one believes Homer, Sisyphus was the wisest and most prudent of mortals. According to another tradition, however, he was disposed to practice the profession of highwayman. I see no contradiction in this. Opinions differ as to the reason why he became the futile laborer of the underworld. To begin with, he is accused of a certain levity in regard to the gods. He stole their secrets. Aegina, the daughter of Aesopus, was carried off by Jupiter. The father was shocked by that disappearance and complained to Sisyphus. He who knew of the abduction offered to tell about it on condition that Aesopus would give water to the citadel of Corinth. To the celestial thunderbolts, he preferred the benediction of water. He was punished for this in the underworld. Homer tells us also that Sisyphus had put death in chains. Pluto could not endure the sight of his deserted, silent empire. He dispatched the god of war, who liberated death from the hands of the conqueror. It is said also that Sisyphus, being near to death, rashly wanted to test his wife's love. He ordered her to cast his unburied body into the middle of the public square. Sisyphus woke up in the underworld, and there, annoyed by an obedience so contrary to human love, he obtained from Pluto permission to return to earth in order to chastise his wife. But when he had seen again the face of this world, enjoyed water and sun, warm stones and the sea, he no longer wanted to go back to the infernal darkness. Recalled sighs of anger, warnings were of no avail. Many years more he lived facing the curve of the gulf, the sparkling sea and the smiles of the earth. A decree of the gods was necessary. Mercury came and seized the impudent man by the collar, and snatching him his joys, led him forcibly back to the underworld, where his rock was ready for him. You have already grasped that Sisyphus is the absurd hero. He is as much as through his passions as through his torture. His scorn of the gods, his hatred of death, and his passion for life won him that unspeakable penalty in which the whole being is exerted toward accomplishing nothing. This is the price that must be paid for the passions of this earth. Nothing is told us about Sisyphus in the underworld. Myths are made for the imagination to breathe life into them. As for this myth, one sees merely the whole effort of a body straining to raise the huge stone, to roll it and push it up a slope 100 times over. One sees the face screwed up, the cheek tight against a stone, the shoulder grazing the clay-covered mass, the foot wedging it, the fresh start with arms outstretched, the wholly human security of two earth-clotted hands. At the very end of his long effort measured by skyless space and time, without depth, the purpose is achieved. Then Sisyphus watches a stone rush down in a few moments toward that lower world, whence he will have to push it up again toward the summit. He goes back down to the plain. It is during that return that Sisyphus interests me. A phase that toils so close to stones is already stone itself. I see that man going back down with a heavy yet measured step toward a torment of which he will never know the end. That hour like a breathing space which returns as surely as his suffering, that this is the hour of consciousness. At each of those moments when he leaves the heights and gradually sinks toward the lairs of the gods, he is superior to his fate. He is stronger than his rock. If this myth is tragic, that is because its hero is conscious. Where would his torture be, indeed, if at every step the hope of succeeding upheld him? The workman of today works every day in his life at the same task, and this fate is no less absurd. But it is tragic only at the rare moments when it becomes conscious. Sisyphus, proletarian of gods, powerless and rebellious, knows the whole extent of his wretched condition. It is what he thinks of during his descent. The lucidity that was to constitute his torture at the same time crowns his victory. There is no faith that cannot be surmounted by scorn. Okay, so that's our text, and that is the myth of Sisyphus. So you can see in your screen a representation or a picture of the plight of Sisyphus. So he is punished to roll the rock up the hill and let it roll back, and he would roll it again, and he would keep on doing that again and again, and he doesn't know when it would end. Now, okay, given the text that you have listened to, okay, it's time for you to reflect. So these are the questions that you're tasked to answer. The first one: what is it about your life that resembles Sisyphus' plight? The second one: what do you think, or what do you consider as your rock? The third one: how do you think you would be able to stop pushing your rock? Okay, so I hope this question will help you find the beauty of the text that you have just listened to. Okay, so have a great day.